Calvin and Hobbes. I'm excited for this one, I can't lie. This is a series that I used to read a lot as a kid, even though I didn't really understand like the adult aspects of it, but even without understanding that, I knew I liked it a lot. Keep in mind, I'm like a 10-year-old. I didn't really know what the book was talking about in terms of like its more deep messaging, but I didn't really care. Anytime it like had any funny moments, I liked it, and that was all I really needed as a kid. Funny enough, the series actually ended back in 1995, which was 7 years before I was even in my dad's ball sack. Even with that time from its ending to when I started reading it, it still, spoke to me enough for me to like it a lot. I was in love with a comic strip that was even older than dial-up internet, which I still never experienced as a kid. I had a landline, but that was about it. I don't know though, back then, like when I was reading it, it felt like it was my thing. Like it really spoke to me as a kid. And even like how I tried to shape my personality after each character, whether it was Calvin or Hobbes. It was mostly Calvin because he was a kid and I was a kid and I was reading it too. But even like his dry humor or like their like funny, sarcastic ways of talking to each other just made sense to me as a kid. Which even as a 10-year-old, by the way, I thought the word sexy was a bad word. On one hand, you had Calvin, who was a chaotic kid. He had the energy of a juiced up bodybuilder, but also the wisdom of like a Greek philosopher. And Hobbes, who at this point, if you don't know who they are, Hobbes was a stuffed tiger. I guess tiger that was alive to Calvin and that was walking around and talking only to him, by the way. And he was kind of seen as like the older brother or like the adult out of the two. And sometimes even played in the goofiness with Calvin as well. But yeah, the reason I'm even making this video is because I remember this series a couple weeks ago and I kind of wanted to go over why it had such like a big grasp on me as a kid. Like maybe I'm not explaining how well it is like on camera, but it was a big part of my childhood for a specific part until I did end up forgetting about it for a couple of years. But it really did have a big hold on me when I was reading it a lot. And I want to see if it still holds up to this day as well. But yeah, before I fully get into this video, I don't want to call it a video essay because it isn't that at all. Like the amount of research that I put into this isn't indicative of it being a video essay, but it might not be the same type of commentary that I was doing for the last 3 videos. So it might be somewhere in between of like a lazy video essay in a way. That might not even be the right word to describe it as. I kind of wanted to treat this video as like a trip down memory lane, talk about the author of the strip. I'm also going to be reading out some strips as well to see if they still hold up to this day and to see if I still enjoy them as a, grown up 23-year-old. With that being said, grab a hot chocolate, vodka soda, and enjoy me fantasizing about my life as a kid and using this video as a way to hide behind that and realizing how good life was as a 10-year-old. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the author of the comic strip is named Bill Watterson. He grew up in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, and growing up he liked comics like Peanuts and Pogo. I think Peanuts, it's the guy with like Snoopy and all that. I think they're called the Peanut Gang. I'm not too sure. That could just be me making it up. I'm also not going to be bothered to search it up, so I might be wrong about that. And he went to a liberal arts school in Gambier, Ohio, and majored in political science because cartooning wasn't really a major in college. I don't think drawing was even back then. I don't know. He landed a job drawing political cartoons for the Cincinnati Post in the 70s, and funny enough, got fired only after a few months joining. And he thinks he got fired because the editor of the Cincinnati Post wanted his own Jeff McNally, who by the way won a Pulitzer Prize at the age of 24, which is basically an award presented for achievements in American journalism, literature, and music. After that, he moved back home, moved in with his parents, which, I can't hate on that. Little side note, I think that's like an American thing to see like going back home as like a bad thing. I feel like everywhere outside the US it's like a very normal thing. And he actually worked in his parents' basement while submitting comic strip ideas to different syndicates. So before he thought of, Calvin and Hobbes at the start, he was already experimenting with like a boy and tiger like relationship in the early 1980s. The first time Calvin had appeared in a comic strip, it was in a rejected strip called The Doghouse. And, after a bunch of rejections, the Universal Press Syndicate ended up picking up Calvin and Hobbes in 1985. The earliest I could find within how many, strips became publicated, it was around November 18, 1985, and about 35 newspapers. Within only a couple years, I'm guessing 3 or 4, it was already over 2,000. And by the late 80s, it was already one of the most widely read and critically acclaimed strips worldwide. I'll probably get to this later, but just in case, Bill Watterson was not a big fan of syndication. He didn't want anything going past the comic strip. So he didn't want Calvin and Hobbes being like in TV shows or in movies or in anything else beside his strip. He was heavily against that, which I think you can tell later on is what made it so good. It's kind of like it came and it went, but because it didn't get stretched beyond what it actually is, it kind of kept its like beautiful nature in a way. Like it didn't go beyond what it had to do. And that's why I think people still view it in such a high regard today, because what it is what it is. Like it's kind of like, okay, I guess Garfield in a sense where I guess people nowadays kind of find Garfield almost annoying because it's been like, stretched to like beyond relief, a bunch of movies and whatnot, and it's not what it used to be, I guess. I don't know. And for some quick background on, I guess, what the author had inspiration for Calvin and Hobbes.
It's then no surprise that Calvin and Hobbes are each named after 16th and 17th century philosophers John Calvin and Thomas Hobbes. It doesn't seem like these namesakes are directly relevant to the characters they're provided to, since John Calvin believed in predestination and Thomas Hobbes believed that people were too stupid to govern themselves, though there are interesting parallels. Calvin is shown to frequently wish for his successes to be, quote, handed to him on a silver platter, and even refers to himself as a fatalist on one occasion. But it doesn't dominate his entire character, since Calvin the child is far less religious than Calvin the philosopher. Hobbes, on the other hand, is, quote, named for a 17th century philosopher with a dim view of human nature. Hobbes the character is modeled largely after Watterson's cat Sprite, though the Hobbesian philosophy sometimes come through for the character when he refers to humans as, quote, tiger food, or when he frequently espouses the superiority of tigers over humans. But this is less to do with political philosophy and more to do with Hobbes having a Darwinistic idea of a naked human's ability to win a fight with a 400-pound tiger.
By the way, I'm saying all this. This is like the slightest amount of research I did. So please do not think I am intelligent or smart in any way, because I am not by any means. But yeah, as I said earlier, he was really against syndication and, you know, I don't know what the word is, like making it bigger than it has to be, I guess. And yeah, it was kind of just like him fighting back against someone trying to hold back his artistic nature, which I mean makes sense, right? Any artist isn't really gonna want to like have anything holding them back, whether it's like in a literal sense of having to add or not add as much on a page, or in like a metaphorical sense of like trying to syndicate something to, you know, make it something that it isn't. He rejected a bunch of TV show offers, stuffed animals, you know, like mass merchandising. I guess in his world it would kind of cheapen out his characters, which is a good point, right? The more you make something, I guess kind of like it isn't viewed as important, right? Because you can get it anywhere. You know, I think looking back in his career, he was definitely right. You know, Calvin and Hobbes is just that. It's just the strip. As a fan of the strip, maybe there's some bias, maybe it could have had a TV show, I don't know, a cartoon or whatever. On the other hand, he had a good point on why he didn't want it to go any farther than the strip. But sadly, all good things do come to an end. On December 31st, 1995, Bill Watterson wrote his last strip for Calvin and Hobbes, and it ended in a really nice way. It was basically Calvin and Hobbes riding a sled down a mountain into like this blank world, which I think was a very nice way to end it. It was kind of just like a graceful way to end the series. And on a side note, I know it does sound like, you know, this guy like didn't want to make any money or wanted to be hella artistic. He obviously still made money from the strip itself. Like, you know, niggas gotta pay bills, but I think it was pretty cool that in a world where, you know, business is all about making money, he was kind of just like, nah, I want it to be this thing and only this thing, the money kind of thing. But he obviously did make money from the strip, in case that was lost in any kind of translation. But yeah, as for why it connected with me so much, one example, and I wish I had a picture about this, but I used to have a blue teddy bear and I named him Hobbes. I wish I was kidding. By the way, it's a teddy bear. It wasn't a tiger at all, but I can't look back into the mind of myself when I was, you know, I guess 10 years old. I really don't know what age I was reading the comic, but for one reason or another, it really spoke to me enough for me to name a teddy bear Hobbes. And don't get me wrong, I don't know if that nigga ever really talked to me. I know I talked to him a lot, but yeah, it might have been a very one-sided relationship. I think one of the reasons it might have like connected to me so much as a kid is like because of Calvin's imagination. Like there's a lot of strips where like he might be flying a spaceship or like riding on top of a dinosaur, and I guess as a kid I'm also doing that as well. He also had a really cool relationship with Hobbes. It was kind of like a big brother little brother kind of thing, and granted I had a little sister. Why I didn't have an older sibling to look up to, maybe that's like what filled that gap and why I thought it was so cool, or like a very close best friend in that way. Now a big part of the comic strip is its philosophical undertones about childhood or nature, or even about consumerism. I don't know if as a kid I really understood what it was talking about. I must have a little bit because I kept on reading it. Another reason, you know, the art style. It had a really nice art style that I liked a lot, especially when Watterson went back and forth from like the really realistic art he did and then back to like the regular art style he had. And I thought, I guess going back and forth was really cool. And lastly, the humor. It was really funny at the end of the day, even if I didn't understand the super deep tones. The jokes were really funny, and so were the drawings of the jokes as well. And I think it was really funny for a kid and for an adult to get as well. Especially a lot of the times if I didn't understand the words, a lot of the jokes, the only thing you needed was the picture to get it, and that was enough for me as a kid to laugh. Now we're going to the part where we read out some of the strips and see if it still holds up to this day. All right, first one. We have Calvin hitting a bunch of nails into a desk. His mom comes in.
Calvin, what are you doing to the coffee table?
I guess he's kind of just looking into it. Is this some sort of trick question or what? I'll rate these out of 13, see if I still like him. The way I see the strip is similar to like if I'm washing the dishes and someone was to come up to me and be like, are you washing the dishes right now? I guess it's kind of like a joke of someone asking an obvious question. I do kind of like it though. I'll give it an 8, which might be kind of high, or I guess low. It's almost, what, 60%? But I fuck with it, I can't lie. This one, we see that Calvin has sculpted a bunch of snowmen. One of them is dead, one of them is about to throw up, one of them is choking themselves, the other one's like hurling, dry heaving. The dad's like, what the hell is going on? Talks to the mom.
Eggplant casserole tonight.
Why, yes.
This one might be a 12. It's a funny one. 12 was valid, okay.
The days are getting colder.
Yes.
Bugs are dying by the truckload. Ha ha ha. Good riddance to them all.
I like fall. And we have Hobbes kind of looking up like, god damn this nigga. 7.5. No, I like it a lot more than I thought. I can't lie. I'm like looking at it as I'm talking about it. It's higher than I thought. Calvin's talking to his dad.
Dad, how do people make babies?
Most people just go to Sears, buy the kit, and follow the assembly instruction.
I came from Sears?
No, you were a blue light special at Kmart. Almost as good and a lot cheaper.
Ah!
Dear, what are you telling Calvin now? It's another 12. This one's really funny. It's one of the only times like we see Calvin in a state where he's not like in control, or like I wasn't even looking at the camera. Like not in control, like being dead ass serious. And his dad is the one like f***ing around. 12.5 12.5. You know what's funny too? I remember this comic strip from a kid when I was getting these strips out. This is one of the ones that like I fully remembered as a kid. So 12 is pretty valid. Also, shout out Kmart. I don't know if they're still in store. I haven't thought about a Kmart in so long, and you could tell the age of this comic, I think, based off of that. All right, we got Calvin playing in a sandbox with Hobbes.
Do you have an idea for your story yet?
No, I'm waiting for inspiration. You can't just turn on creativity like a faucet. You have to be in the right mood.
What mood is that?
Last minute panic. 13. I relate to this so much. As the biggest procrastinator probably in Southern America, I understand what he's saying. It's like, you know, diamonds are made in the rough. No, that's diamond in the rough. Yeah, pressure makes diamonds. That's what I meant to say. Look at Calvin, man. It's so inspirational. We got Calvin in bed.
Every day it's the same old thing, but not today.
He's walking out naked. His mom's trying to grab him.
Everybody's a slave to a routine.
So just to be clear, I think he's like, I don't want to be part of this repeating stuff. I'm not gonna wear any clothes. Tries to walk out. His mom's like, nigga, where the fuck you going? Come back here and wear some damn pants at least. And then he's like, I guess everyone has to be a slave to something. I'll give this one a 9. I definitely relate to this a lot. Funny enough, I'm trying to be a slave to some routines, like going to the gym. I think that's a healthy routine to be a slave of. Another routine, funny enough, I think since like, I don't know, 2021, maybe earlier, I like order food every weekend on like Sundays, watch like a show, YouTube video, something. And I haven't not done that except like maybe vacations or if I'm not in the US for some reason. I would definitely categorize myself as a slave to that routine. It's something that I don't really try to get away from. But yeah, I think moral of this comic, everyone is a slave to routine. Everyone has something that they have to do every day or every week. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, which I think is what this comic was trying to say. Like he was complaining about the fact that he has to get dressed, which is kind of saying like, hey, everyone is a slave to routine, but that doesn't mean it has to be a bad thing. Everyone has to wear clothes. That's their routine. That's a, you know, social routine that we have to be a slave of because that's just what we do as a society. All right, we got Calvin's dad. He's like shaving his beard.
Another day, another dollar. Another irreplaceable chunk out of a finite and rapidly passing lifetime. What a beautiful summer day, and I've got to spend it in an office. Brother. It seems like I'm always rushing off and never taking the time out to enjoy days like this. I'd sure like to have a quiet day around the house. No traffic, no schedule, no phone calls. Boy, that'd be great. I could spend some time with Calvin, read a book, go on a bike ride. Maybe I should take the day off. The world wouldn't end if I didn't go into the office today. Days like this don't come often, and life is short.
Hi, Dad. Bye, Dad.
His mom's chasing him out of the shower. You get back here and pick every one of those dead bugs out of my shampoo. I mean now. And cut to this nigga's dad going right to the office, singing a song, bro. Cool 6. You know, as someone who doesn't go into the office, I definitely couldn't relate to it, but I get the idea. Like sometimes you think being home away from the job is a good thing just to find out how crazy that house is. Actually enjoying the office life. I don't know. I've never worked in an office longer than like 3 months. I used to intern at like some realtor like offices or whatever, and all I did I think was like file actual like folders, look at houses, and listen to the new Uzi album that came out in 2020. I think it was like Eternal Take or whatever it was. Nonetheless, I think a 10 is a valid rating. I don't know. Calvin putting bugs inside of his mom's shampoo makes sense. We also don't see Hobbes in this, funny enough, just like in the one about the Kmart, but I guess it goes to show that the comic can hold up without either one of the main characters in the strip. We got Calvin in the pool. This is another one I remember from when I was a kid.
The water's freezing. I'm gonna go into shock and drown. I just know it. I bet the lifeguard is involved in some insurance scam, and she's gonna let all of us drown like rats. Oh no, oh no.
Okay, first we're going to learn the dead man's float.
Mom, help, help!
What I put up to pay for college. That's my nigga Calvin. I can't swim. He can't swim either. Even if he's like, what, 10 years old? I don't care. As a grown 23-year-old man, I also cannot swim, and I fully get him. I also don't know what I would do at this point to learn how to swim. I don't know if I can enroll. I'm sure I can actually, I can definitely enroll in a class to learn how to swim. This is a 13. Also, lifeguard in the summer, no way that's putting a dent into college. Unless it's like a state school or something. But even then, I can't imagine lifeguards really earn that much. Okay, this looks like a crazy one. First, there was nothing. Then there was Calvin. Calvin, the mighty god, creates the universe with pure will. We see a god pulling up stars from the ground. From utter nothingness comes swirling form. Life begins where once was void. But Calvin is no kind and loving god. He is one of the old gods. He demands sacrifice. This thing is going crazy. He's one of Mihawk's eyes. Yes, Calvin is a god of the underworld, and the puny inhabitants of earth displease him. Oh, great Calvin ignores their pleas for mercy. The doomed writhe in agony. And his dad talking.
Have you seen how absorbed Calvin is with those Tinker toys?
What the Tinker Toys?
He's creating whole worlds over there.
I'll bet he grows up to be an architect.
I like this. This is an example of Watterson's like creativity and like how he can draw in a bunch of different ways. This is really cool. I like the style a lot in the way he did this, but I'll give it a 6. I didn't really care too much of it. Maybe even a 5 low-key. I didn't really care too much for it. It was cool. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, 5. Looks like a classic Calvin and Hobbes.
Look, it says you have to be 18 to buy cigarettes.
18? By then I'll know better. Mom, can I have a cigarette?
Sure, Calvin. I think your grandfather left some here. Just smoke outside, okay?
Wow.
She's really saying yes to this nigga smoking?
Your mom let you have a cigarette?
For a mom, sometimes she's pretty cool.
Why'd I hiccup? What the fuck? Oh, I have hiccups now. God damn it.
You'd think this would be an easy habit to break.
Well, now, did we learn a little lesson today?
Yes. Trusting parents can be hazardous to your health.
This is a 13. I like this a lot. Seeing Hobbes with big old eyes is definitely a little weird, but this is like classic Calvin and Hobbes. Well, not classic actually. It wasn't really like philosophical undertones, but I remember this comic too. I fuck with this one. This is a 13 to me. Last one. Red alert, red alert. Enemy sighted. Battle stations, battle stations.
Here's the mighty aircraft carrier, equipped with the latest radar and firepower. It's virtually unsinkable.
I know what can sink it.
Yeah, what?
A cannonball death charge.
Oh no! Haha, that was great. You emptied the whole tub. Turn on the water, let's do it again.
We seem to have a waterfall down the stairway, dear. I'll go see what your kid is doing.
My kid? Come here and let me explain something to you. Another 13, honestly. This is crazy reading this shit back, I can't lie. You know what? I think this is another like very close to classic Calvin and Hobbes. It's really cool reading these. Like, I think this is one of those things that definitely will be timeless though, for sure. Before I end the video though, there's something called the Pink Calvin meme. Watterson didn't draw it at all. I don't know who did. It might have been some random dude put it on a t-shirt, but yeah, I can't imagine he was ever fond of this. I couldn't find anything about him talking about the Pink Calvin meme, but he didn't make it. It also doesn't really match Calvin's vibe. It makes him seem like really mischievous in a way that doesn't really match him as a kid. It really wouldn't make sense that he would have been the one to draw it anyways. Calvin is supposed to be like a smart, like whimsical, witty, like mischievous, not like a physical one, if that makes sense. I mean, he did just, I guess, flood the house, but like not in a almost like mean-spirited kind of way, I guess. That was the video, guys. When I think about Blue Hobbes, I'm sure he's somewhere out there in a AA meeting, living off the good old days and hanging out with a 12-year-old, but I don't know. I wish I could find him. I don't know where he's at. I don't really hear too much about the strip anymore, which, you know, kind of bums me out because of how good it was and how good it still is now. But there is some beauty in how short-lived it was. After all, that is like what keeps it so good as a comic. But yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is a little bit more different than what I did in my last three, or maybe not. Maybe it's the exact same and I'm just, you know, acting a little dumb. But I enjoyed making it like this. I wrote a bit of a, not really script, but like an outline of what I wanted to talk about. It definitely got pretty informational, as you can tell by like the beginning of the video, but I hope it ended up, you know, looking well to you guys. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe. Let me know if you guys even read the comic in the first place in the comments. But yeah, till next time, peace.